It's another story of liberal Democrat hypocrisy. On the one hand, the irony is stunning and funny. On the other hand, it's not, because it's another shining example that this ruling oligarch has decided, do as we say, not as we do. Governor Cruella de Whitmer of Michigan has really put her state through it. I'm going to say even worse than Gavin Newsom has put Californians through. See, at the end of the day, Gavin Newsom is what he is. He's just a hairdo and a suit, and, that's really all he is. He just looks good for the camera. Hollywood deserves him. Whitmer, on the other hand, is actually a cold, calculating, vindictive little snip. And what she put Michiganders through during this pandemic is unbelievable. I live 1 hour from the Michigan border. Not even. It's actually, I live about 35 minutes from the Michigan border, an hour from Detroit. And I can tell you, it was night and day. It was literally like back in the days of East Berlin and West Berlin. It was like people in Michigan trying to escape into Ohio just to have freedom. I remember after we went through our 30-day lockdown here, at least our rhino governor did have enough sense to reopen businesses, and he did open them relatively quickly, although they never should have been closed to begin with, but that's another story. I remember when barber shops reopened, local people couldn't even get in to get their hair cut because the barber shops were overloaded with people coming over from Michigan just to be able to get a haircut. And restaurants, forget about it. They were packed. And if you drove through the parking lots, you would see that 60 to 70% of the cars in the parking lot all had Michigan license plates. Michigan was under just severe lockdown. I'm not kidding you. People would be outside planting gardens, and local municipalities would roll up, in their official town of, city of vehicle, whether it be a car or a truck, and they would fine people on the spot for being out of their homes, even in their own backyard, out of their homes in their own backyard. And if they were planting or tending to a garden, these municipal workers would dig it up and destroy it on the spot. I'm not kidding you. People were fined for going outside and mowing their lawn. One of the things that we noticed here in Ohio during the early days of the pandemic, when only the corporate businesses could be open, Home Depot, Lowe's, and all your home improvement stores, they were just raking in the dough. People couldn't go to work, so they just started doing all kinds of things around their house. I remember I was doing things around my house because, well, I had a little extra time on my hands because even as a pastor, I wasn't allowed to go into hospitals and visit anyone, wasn't allowed to go to nursing homes and visit anyone. And in the very first stages, people were just a little bit leery about just popping over to their homes, and so I found myself with a little extra time on my hands, so I started going to the home improvement stores and doing stuff around the house. Not in Michigan. You could be fined for painting your house. I'm not kidding you. It was unbelievable what she put her state through. And then when she was confronted on all this, we find out that why her husband, he was putting his boat out into the water for the 4th of July holiday, even though the entire state was told, stay home, don't go anywhere. It's not safe. But yet, the governor of Michigan went places. She even traveled to Joe Biden's inauguration. She has a vacation home on Lake Michigan. Of course she went there. Of course her husband was allowed to be one of the only people in the entire state to have a boat on the water. She lived her life during this entire pandemic completely normally. Of course, there were people that were upset. Michigan was the first place to have the protests against the lockdowns. And what happened? She came out and said, every day that you protest, I will add 10 days to the lockdown. Really? What if she had said that about the BLM protesters marching through Detroit? What if she had said during the height of the George Floyd insanity, every day you people march and protest, I will add 10 days to the lockdown? No, these were true patriots. They were putting their lives at risk. They were risking coronavirus to march, loot, and burn and pillage. Well, that's what Joy Reid told us anyway over at PMSNBC. So Governor DeWhitmer, just absolutely this Cruella demented individual, when they started to have a surge again, an uptick in COVID in Michigan, who did she blame? Florida.
Well, at the end of the day, this is going to come down to whether or not everyone does their part. That's the most important thing. This variant, the B117 variant, is what is growing so quickly here in Michigan. We have the second most of it, then I think right after Florida. At least that was the last data that I saw. Michigan and Florida are not next to each other, but this is the time of the year that snowbirds come home from Florida, where people are going on spring break, and all of these things can contribute to spread.
Now, let me tell you, having lived in Florida for 9 years, I can tell you, yep, Florida is the recipient of a lot of snowbirds, a lot of older northern people that have worked their whole lives, and part of their golden years they want to spend in decent weather in the winter. Can't blame them. I hate winter. Hate it with a passion. But I'll say this, right on the Michigan border is, of course, Ohio. And in Ohio, they are, without a doubt, the number one supplier of snowbirds to Florida. That's not even open for debate. While Florida does attract literally hundreds of thousands of snowbirds every year, the vast majority do come from the state of Ohio. I can tell you, having worked in a ministry in Florida that had a large senior adult ministry, the pastor, director of that program told me one day, he said, go out in the parking lot and take a look at the license plates, and you will find it's almost a 3-to-1 state of Ohio as compared to every other state. And one day I had a little time on my hands, so I did. I just kind of meandered through the parking lot during one of their big senior adult gatherings, which would gather about 300 to 400 senior adults. And sure enough, I mean, it was just a sea of Ohio license plates. Ohio didn't have a surge and an uptick when the snowbirds came home. I have people in my church who go to Florida for the winter and then come home to enjoy the spring, summer, and fall in Ohio. And I can tell you, they weren't sick and they didn't bring any sickness to us. And yet then this same Cruella demented, warning you about spring break and the awfulness and the evilness of Florida, because after all, Florida's pastored by a Republican. It's a red state. It's an open state. It's a free state. That we have to vilify them. We have to make them bad. And it's to the point now where even a Bill Maher is not buying it anymore. Even Bill Maher is saying, hey, the reason that Florida and Texas did not have the uptick, the surges, that relatively speaking, they're about in the middle of the pack with the rest of the country on COVID cases, might have something to do with the sun, the fresh air, the good weather. You think? But hey, we've been given permission now. We don't have to wear this anymore if we've been, yes, the V word. Well, too bad, so sad. I go outside without it because I like to breathe fresh air. And I just am a firm believer in this little thing called science. And science has proven that vitamin D is a natural killer of bacteria and infections, etc., etc., etc. It also enhances your immune system. But that's another statement for another time. We're dealing with Cruella DeWhitmer, who recently went to Florida. Wait a minute. Whoa, back up. I thought you shouldn't go. I thought it was a super spreader, and she would bring nothing but death and destruction to her state, but she went. Now, of course, it was kept very hush-hush, very secretive. In fact, one investigative reporter in Michigan decided to delve into it, because, the rest of the media, they're a bunch of Cinco fans just reading from the approved script because they're just a propaganda machine for the current regime and administration, both within the state of Michigan and, of course, the nation under Joe Biden. This one investigative reporter turned up a couple of interesting facts. There's no record of the governor having flown commercial, which means she went in a private jet. Okay. There was a little bit of, we think she went to see, she has an elderly father who's not doing well. Well, isn't that nice? Now, let me just tell you this. I wouldn't begrudge anybody seeing their elder family, especially if they're dying or they're sick. We weren't allowed to. I have people in my church who lost loved ones in nursing homes who are not allowed to be with them. These people died alone, and they died with masked strangers. That's cruel. That's beyond cruel. And in Michigan, people are still not allowed to see their loved ones. That's cruel. But yet, Cruella de Whitmer could get in a private plane and whisk down to spend a couple of days with her dad. And I don't begrudge her that, but let everybody else do it. But then again, rules are for thee and not for me, right? Right, Cruella? The only response that they could officially get from the governor's office was she was not in Miami partying. Well, we don't know because you won't tell us. And as this investigative reporter said, something else is strange. When a governor travels from one state to another state, the governor's office notifies that state that the governor is coming. For example, the protocol would be for her office to have called DeSantis's office and said, Governor Whitmer is going to be in your state for 3 days. She would immediately be assigned a state police patrol and protection. The governor of Michigan never notified the governor of Florida that she was in a state. When pressed and asked to really, where was the governor, why were they in Florida, the official response from the governor's office was, because of security concerns, we can't tell you. Okay, first of all, this is after the event. She's already been and back and everything is safe and sound and hunky-dory, so why can't you tell us? And if you were really concerned about security and safety and the well-being of the governor, why did you not notify the governor of Florida so that a security detail could be assigned to her? Bum, ba-dum, bum. Now, I'm not inferring anything. I'm just outright saying it. The rules are for thee and not for me. And this is exactly why you are seeing a backlash of rebellion. Remember, it was Michigan where a 75-year-old barber was arrested on live television for daring to open his barber shop during Cruella de Whitmer's lockdown. That got the nation upset. And I know what happens. It runs its 48-hour news cycle and we forget. I am telling you that the state of Michigan is like an enclosed prison camp. I kid you not. And now she has announced that once they reach 70% immunization, she'll throw out all the mandates and everything will be back open wide. Bullhawk. Bullhawk. You notice how all of these oligarchs keep moving the goalposts? TSA announced yesterday their mask mandates are supposed to end on May the 11th. Now they've extended them through September the 13th. Well, wait a minute. Whoa. Back the train up. I think most people, whether you are for the vaccine or against the vaccine, most Americans, I think, have kind of done the math and figured out that certainly by September, we're talking 85 to 90% of the country will have had the shot by then. So why still the mask? Because it is the great Dr. Fauci Stein who has said, we're masked until 2022. Why do you think Hollywood has now pulled back all of the releases of their big blockbuster budgeted movies, and now all of the good movies or the big movies, none of that's even scheduled for theater release now till 2022? We're going to get treated to more Lifetime Netflix type crapola, which will be
in the theater and also streaming live.
Because the powers that be are not going to give up this control. They can't. So, hey, kick back, relax in your backyard with the limited number of approved people that you're now allowed to have, and celebrate like they are on the mainstream media that we're being given some of our privileges back, which they never had the right to take away to begin with. But, you know, there I go thinking again. And hey, when you're not allowed to go anywhere or do anything, just remember Governor Whitmer. Hey, that's it for this little rant today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Check the hot link to take you to my Rumble page. And don't forget, smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my next rant if YouTube feels like telling you, which they probably won't. So just check back here every day.